survive. And those are the things that I pass to my daughters. Okay. So, yes. So, again, it was the motivation to make sure that my daughters don't have to depend on anyone, and they can be able to thrive in life. And because teachers like yourself that and principals like yourself that actually go out their way and teach these children, a different way that we can never teach them. Because I can't even keep up with the math right now that they teach in school right now. I'm like, huh, what happened? I thought it was just division motivation. But again, it's an honor being here, and I really appreciate the platform.
I think we're just waiting for Miss Coleman.
Yes. I said that we were live streaming already, so I'm like, okay, we're ready to go.
So I'm sorry, everybody. We're still getting a few things straightened out. I just wanted to take this time to say hello. And
Hello.
I appreciate you guys.
Hello.
And this means so much to me that you guys stopped what you were doing to join me tonight. And so we are waiting on one more, my co-host. And that's who I'm going to dismiss myself just to check on her to make sure she's okay and make sure she's not having any technical difficulties. So Walter just got done introducing himself, and I teased him and said, him and all that testosterone, I'm surprised he even made it here alive today. 5 girls in one room. And I teased him, I said, well, Walter, you got to get a boy dog. He says, I got one. That's a girl too. So I feel really bad.
The turtles are girls, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'm okay. I wouldn't change it for the world. But I had to make sure that I did this in the car away from them, because there's no way I can do that in the house, because they're all like, well, mommy, hey, you put my.
That's okay. That's okay. Miss Brome is a repeated guest. I think Miss Brome has done maybe 4 podcasts, if not more. And I remember her very first one was in the car. So I told her we're going to rock it. So I'm quite all right with that. So I'm going to turn it over and let you guys kind of finish introducing yourselves with one another so you can kind of get acquainted with each other. And then I will be back momentarily. We've got about 14 minutes left before we actually go live. So that's why I want to run and check on her. But I know Miss Brown's mic is working. I know Walter's mic is working. Daniel, I know your camera is working. Can you check to tell me, can you give me a sound check?
Sound check, 1, 2, 1, 2.
There you go, thumbs up. And then Henry, can
I'm here as well.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, so excuse me, I'll be back in just a minute.
Trying to get this camera away from the steering wheel. It looks horrifying.
I guess we're introducing ourselves. My name is Henry Duhart. I guess they call it a community activist. I guess the word. I'm from Fort Pierce, and I do stuff in Fort Pierce because that's where I'm from. So they call it a community activist. I run for office and stuff like that, but I'm a musician and artist first, music creative. So I also do music, play instruments, write songs, perform. Businessman as well. I book my own gigs, paid gigs and tours and stuff like that with different musicians for the last couple of years and events. But mostly I work with the community to do community projects. My job, which is Families of Treasure Coast. And today we're hopefully going to be recruiting a few more people for our second year of our Mr. and Mrs. Juneteenth pageant. Nice. We had a successful one last year. So this year we're going to actually have Mr. Yeah, last year was just a Miss Juneteenth pageant. So right now, we're trying to get a couple more young men to sign up. I think we got like 4. Then we have like 10 young women signed up. So, and then like I said, I do community projects throughout the year with different groups. Soon with Ms. Broom as well. Hopefully,
yes.
With you guys at FK Suites to do something over there as well with the staff over there. So that's about it for me.
And I'm Makita Broom. So I am Port St. Lucie, Fort Pierce transplant. My dad retired here from the military after 21 years. So I did the bachelor's program at IRSC. I taught it's my 14th year in education. And I've taught at Lincoln Park Academy was the longest I taught. I taught math, the higher level algebra, calculus, AP calculus. I taught the IB math classes before transitioning into a math coach. So I coached teachers on how to teach math at Westwood for 2 years, then became an assistant principal at Westwood for 2 years. And then I was looking for a change. So I transitioned to elementary. So I ended up at CA Moore, and I was able to support my principal in turning it around from an F to a C school in 1 year. I was there another year. Thank you. Yeah, it was work. It's hard, but it's work. And then last year I won a National Assistant Principal of the Year award and was promoted to principal of Francis K. Sweet Elementary Magnet. So super excited to be on here. Like I said, I've been on here a couple of times with Ms. Coleman because of the work we were doing at CA Moore and promoting what we were doing there. So it's a pleasure to be back on. She is a godsend and amazing in some of the work we did at CA Moore. So I'm glad to have her join and help us out at FK Suite also.
Awesome. Oh, again, I'm Walter Puente. I am from Ponce, Puerto Rico. I've been here in the States for quite some time, and I work with Orkin Pest Control. I'm actually the commercial account manager. So I take care of a lot of the commercial accounts for, any situation they might have with German roaches, bed bugs. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm the guy that comes out there and gives you a plan on how we can get rid of these situations. I'm also the termite inspector. So I'm the gentleman that's going and crawling through people's homes, making sure that you're termite free. And if you're not, I am the one that shows you the solutions, preventative treatments, things like that, and things to avoid conducive conditions in your homes. So prevent, any rodents or other occasional invaders to get inside your property and cause damage. And I'm here to help the community and making sure that they stay away from certain things that can cause them harm in their homes, and later on, we'll make sure that we pinpoint all those things. But I am honored to be here, and I truly appreciate the opportunity. We're just waiting. Yeah,
I'm gonna try to get your information too before we leave too, because I need help with that. I think I want to try to do like a tent on the house or whatever I'm at. So I'm gonna try to get your information about that before I leave.
Sure. We'll schedule a time and I'll go out there. All I have to do is measure and see what you're fighting, and then I'll show you what the pricing is now. One thing I'm going to tell you, Orkin is not the cheapest in the industry. We're just simply the best. We don't play around. We make sure that we get everything done on the right, the first time, and we always go above and beyond.
Okay, I'll make sure I get your information.
Yeah, I do music as well, so we definitely need to link up. You ever heard of Tito Puente?
No.
You never heard the song Oye como va mi ritmo bueno pa gozar? It's a very old school mambo song, but he was the king of the mambo. That was my second uncle, so I kind of have it in my blood. But I do Spanish. That's what I do, like reggaeton, salsa, merengue, bachata, things like that.
I have a friend that does that. But when I get back from Atlanta, I'll definitely try to reach out and see if we can schedule something.
Sure. I appreciate that. But definitely fumigations are a pain in the butt. So I know for a fact if someone needs it, it's because there's a big situation there. And they're everywhere right now. They're getting into everyone's homes. 3 o'clock in the morning, you get a customer calling you on the phone and, hey, Walter, I have 1 million termites inside my house. You're like, what's going on? They're swarming right now.
Yeah, and they don't believe that they can get in a CBS home. So
they can definitely, subterraneans can definitely use a block home just to get to the wood.
Exactly.
And I have videos of that. That's why they spray the soil when they are laying down a slab, because they're worried that if the termites are taking over the whole floor, then it's gonna, make the floor warp or, move out of place, and then now your foundation is not balanced completely. That's why they do those type of treatments. But the fact is that, like I said I'm so sorry, I'm trying to remember the names. Principal.
That's Miss Brown, Makita Brown.
Miss Brown. Like I said, there's 2 type of homes in Florida: those that have termites and those that are going to get them. So it's It's just a matter of time.
Don't you speak that over my house. I'm sorry.
If you have, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now that if you have not done a treatment preventative for your home, one day you're gonna wake up, and I hope that listen. God protect your home and puts His hand over your home, and you never see them.
There
But
you go.
the fact is that all the termites need is a crack as thin as a business card to get into your home. Do you look at your home and you say, do you see any cracks anywhere in your home that termite can get in? And they swarm with the rain and the wind. So as they're coming with the rain and the wind, the first thing that they hit is all the plants that are surrounding your property. Right?
See, that's the salesman side of you. Listen, Walter, I love it. I'm not mad at it. I can see it. You believe it.
You're funny.
And I love it. So I do see we just got our co-host, which the world hasn't heard this yet. So this is an insight for you guys to have Dr. Bunny Hill. It just dropped. She just got dropped for some reason. So she's going to be coming back on, and I'm hoping if she can still hear us, that she joins us back. But while we are waiting, let me just share a little bit why I do this. I've been doing, I have the foundation, and my foundation turned 2 years old, actually yesterday on my father's birthday, who's no longer with me, and I didn't even realize that. Thank you. I got behind schedule. I was supposed to have the little popper and the hand claps and the whole 9 yards, but I got behind schedule because we're trying to work out some semantics so that we could take in stream on a platform for those that don't have social media. And so we figured out a way. Hello, Queen, beautiful woman of God. Unmute yourself. And it's okay if you guys want to unmute yourself, you can, because we don't go live for 4 more minutes. But to that, A Mother's Love's goal is to be a cornerstone for the community. And when I'm looking at this panel, I've had a chance to work with, there are 3 of you that I've actually physically had, 4 that I've had a chance to physically work with. And I appreciate that. And I didn't realize that until just now looking at this. And so whether it's community-based work, whether it's individually based work, it hasn't been by accident, if you will. And so for me, this means the world to me for you to be able to come on a platform that when I first started doing this, I didn't know what it was going to consist of and how I was going to do it. But to make a long story short, I said, you know what, it's not about me, it's about the community. And so that's where the name Amplifying the Community's Voice comes from, number 1. And the purpose of that is because we are a cornerstone of resources, it's to share with the community what available resources that are out there. Because we are all doing our own thing. And sometimes they forget that we are available to them to be able to use. So that's the purpose of it. And then my goal was each segment to try and give each segment its own identity. And so like when you were on last, Ms. Brome, we did Black Excellence because we had, you know, everybody that was on that platform. And I think there were about 5 women. Every single one of you guys were doing something that revolved around bettering the generation before us and after us. And so that's why I call that Black Excellence. Today we call this relabeled Same Spirit. And my purpose for that was, you know, we may change the exterior, hence, but our spirit within, it remains the same. So I'm still the bubbly Jackie. I'm still the one that will give somebody the shirt off of my back. Same thing with you, Ms. Brome. You're still the same individual. You're just a principal at another school. Daniel is the same thing, but he's just building an entire development so that he can make sure the community has something to call their own. And so I am humbled, and I want to have Dr. Hill. She stepped away, but hopefully she can hear me calling upon her, because I did, and I always try to start each segment, as you guys know, with a quick prayer. So hopefully, Dr. Hill, if you can hear me, can you please come? Earth calling Dr. Hill, Earth calling Dr. Hill. She's not. I'm going to go ahead and get the prayer. Oh, she came back. Perfect. Dr. Hill, can you unmute yourself, Queen? Unmute yourself. And then can you, you know, having a special place in my heart, can you give us a quick prayer? We got about 2 minutes before we get started, so you can bless the podcast.
Yes. Father, we thank you and we bless you today. And we give you glory for the opportunity to reach beyond our boundaries, to touch the lives of others. I pray that we say something that would impact somebody's life. for the rest of their life. In the name of Jesus. And God, encourage us and keep us moving forward, being good examples to those that are watching. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Amen. So for those of you who, well, actually nobody know, my production team is actually my son. He went off to school for this. So we're putting his skills to work. He started out with Air Force ROTC, and that was his goal. Unfortunately, he was a victim of gun violence, so his trajectory ended up changing, which I'm very grateful, because he's got this background that he's able to maneuver this program along for us without me having to do anything but sit back and look pretty. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So I am excited, and son, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and roll us in. It's exactly 5:30.
So, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you guys so much for attending A Mother's Love Foundation Incorporated, Amplifying the Community's Voice podcast tonight. And I am super, super excited about the guests that we have on the panel tonight. We're going to start with a quick introduction, and then we will individually go into what it is that we're going to be talking about. We have some intermittent sessions between each one of our segments, where we will give you a little history behind A Mother's Love, because we are celebrating 2 years old. Woo! Happy birthday to A Mother's Love. Thank you so much for joining us. And then we're going to start with Ms. Brome. She is on my immediate left. We'll go to Mr. Duhart, then Mr. Puente, then Mr. Roseman, and then Dr. Hill.
Hi, my name is Makita Brome. I am the proud principal of Francis K. Sweet Elementary Magnet School in Fort Pierce.
Yes, amen.
Hello, my name is Henry Duhart, resident native of Fort Pierce, Florida. I am an artist, musician, a creative, and a community activist here in St. County in the Church of Coast area.
Mr. Puente, that's you, your cue.
Yes, my name is Walter Puente. I'm with Orkin Pest Control. I'm the commercial pest control account manager and the termite inspector from Stewart all the way to Sebastian.
On you, Mr. Roseman, it's on you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Rosemond. I am the founder and CEO of a nonprofit organization by the name of East to West Development Corporation. We are an affordable housing developer, and we are the proud developers of a project by the name of Oaks at Morris Creek, Phase 2, right in Fort Pierce in the Lincoln Park neighborhood, and happy to talk more about that.
And then the beautiful woman of God, Dr. Hill.
Well, I'm Dr. Bonnie Hill. I'm the CEO and founder of Inner Healing for Women Ministry, which has no boundaries. I've been across the world, here and there, lending what God has given me to others to help them to become all that they could be, balancing out the spiritual with the natural, because we need both sides of it. And it's my assignment to make sure we don't leave the spiritual side out of whatever we're doing.
That right there is probably one of the most important things that we all have said. You know, we've got to, whatever we do, we can't leave him out of. And sometimes as flesh, we have a tendency to forget that. But nothing takes place without him. And the minute we try to omit him, we can rest assured that it's not going to go the proper way that it was designed to. So with that being said, that is exactly why I founded A Mother's Love. And so the goal here is to share with you a little bit about who we are and what we consist of. So we're going to take and give a glimpse into our past. And then when we come back, we will begin our first segment, which will start with you, Ms. Makita Brome. I hope you guys enjoyed the small clip that we're about to play for you. Mr. Bariner, that's your cue.
God is good.
Yes, he is. And I forgot, Miss Brown will tell you, I normally have a little script that I normally say, we are live. Anything can happen. Oh, that's right. He just reminded me, it's playing. We can't see it. I forgot. He did explain to me because it's going to the public. It's not for us to see. So he's got to come on and let us know when we are ready to resume. And he will say the countdown in the ear. So I apologize, young man.
Right now they can't hear you, they can't see you until the video's over.
Okay, were you all able to hear him just then?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, you can keep going. I won't call you son, we're at work.
It's over.
That's it, welcome back. And so that gave you guys a little glimpse into who A Mother's Love is and what we've done in the past. It also shared a few of the podcasts that we've done over the last 2 years. And to that, what we want to do is, for those of you who have watched the podcast in the past, I always give a little speech before we get going, and that is we are live, which means anything can take place. Bloopers, mispronounced words, going out of order, mistakes, just forgive us, charge it to our head and not our heart, because this is physically a live casted stream. So with that said, and without further ado, we're going to turn this over to Ms. Makita Brome. And so Ms. Brome is going to share a few things with us, a little bit on our relationship. I started with Ms. Brome at a school that I adopted first, my first school, which was Chester A. Moore Elementary. And when I tell you, and I always say this, so she can contest to that, when I walked in, I thought it was one of the kids, that personality, she's relatable to them. There's no need to be afraid of her. As far as when you're going in, she makes you feel welcome, but she also has a sternness about her. When she means business, and that's that balance we kind of just talked about privately amongst the group. You have to have that balance. So we started praying at the school every Monday at 7:30 a.m. We've done several things with the school. If for those of you that don't know, Chester A. Moore started out as a D-rated school with really an F, but I think because of the pandemic, we escaped that goal of actually having that F hang over the head. But they turned it around within a year to become a C-rated school. So that, to me, that takes blood, that takes dedication, that takes courage. It also takes a village. And to have that surrounding you guys, it gave you all the ability to do so. Now, to that, as you all know, the name of the podcast is relabeled Same Spirit. And the reason for that is she's now the actual principal at Francis K-Suite, which we've also adopted. So we're on our second school. So I'm happy on that, which means we've got work to do. But just because she's at a different school, that doesn't mean the spirit has changed. So Ms. Brome, I'd like to turn this over to you so you can talk with the world about your new role. What are your plans? And as I always say, tell the village how they're able to help you.
All right. So as I said before, I am Makita Brome. I have lived in St. Lucie County for almost over 20 years now. My dad retired here. I was one of the first graduates out of IRSC's Bachelor's in Education programs. So started out at LPA, high school teacher. Never thought I wanted to be a principal or assistant principal, but I had a friend ask me one time, what do you want your impact to be? And that question stays with me every time I'm asked to do something, an opportunity opens up. If, like you said before, if God's given me the opportunity to impact more people in a different way, then I'm going to steward my gifts well, and I'm not going to deny those opportunities. I was in a training yesterday talking about courage, and it really is just being courageous with understanding, the path that I've been put on. So yeah, I was at CA, I was a high school person for 10 years, and then felt the call to move to elementary. And I went to CA Moore, and not knowing that Dr. Jackson would come there. And that was a godsend too for the school, her ideas, her drive, her passion to help kids. I was able to really learn and glean from her on what it takes you know, for a school to succeed, and it really takes a village. You can't do it by itself. I was blessed last year to win a National Outstanding Assistant Principal of the Year award, and then blessed to be promoted to the principal of FK Suite this year. And I'm able to put in so much of what I learned at CA Moore and Westwood. So all of my experiences have come together to really support the school. You know, as you know, FK Suite is a magnet school. So, you know, we pride ourselves on academic excellence and tradition, and just being a cornerstone that people know what FK Suite is. But as with all other schools, COVID, the current economic situation has impacted kids and families. So while we are continuing that tradition of academic excellence, one place that we are building upon is how do we support students and families, you know, better. You know, I have my population, we at least have about 80% of kids are on free and reduced lunch, you know, so we're trying to find, and we are finding organizations to partner with. So we feed kids over the program through 2 organizations. Grace Packs is through the district. And so whoever's listening, no matter what school your child goes to, if you feel that, you know, you don't have enough food over the weekend, the district has a program called Grace Packs. And that program sends non-perishable items home with kids every Friday to help get them through the weekend. So we have that. And then we were also able to partner with First United Fort Pierce, that's in downtown Fort Pierce. And they also run a program with us also. So we're probably sending home about 100 Grace Packs or Harvesting Hope Packs every single weekend with our students. So that's been super exciting to do that and know that the need is there, because sometimes you're concerned about, do we need it? But the need is definitely there. Some other needs I talked to Ms. Coleman about is we just have families that need help, you know, not knowing where support is, not knowing, okay, I need help with parenting, right? I need help with clothing, I need help with services. So as we're helping kids and working with kids, we are taking a whole child approach of, besides academic help, is there anything else that they need? So food needs. Ms. Coleman came up with an idea, and I have people that have run with it. We have started a clothing closet. We're calling it the Sweet Boutique, where we keep clothes there for students who would need clothes, and that's in school uniforms and out of school. So that is getting up and running. We have volunteers coming in every Friday to help organize that. And we've given away clothes already and shoes already for that. Those are the big things we're working on. And Henry's on here, and I contacted Henry because he did some amazing work for us at CA Moore. But we also want to do where we connect, like you're talking about activism, education has that part in it too, right? You know, so he's going to come in, and I haven't told my teachers yet, but they'll find out, but support our teachers on how do they get involved in the community, right? If they're not already involved. And then another part of his organization works with parents. So we're going to work to put on some parent and family workshops, again, to not just support the kid in the academics, but the whole child, right? It's a balance of all of those things, because a healthy, happy, well-fed child who has good emotional and behavioral support is going to succeed with everything else that's there.
You spoke on a couple of things that I want to kind of piggyback off on. And first thing, the Grace Pack. And I know when you and I had the conversation about that, your goal was, yes, to feed the kid. But you know what we always talk about, and you actually just touched on that, you know, it revolves around the foundation.
Yes.
If a foundation is a solid foundation, then you have a better chance of getting a grip on whatever the situation at hand is.
Yes.
And so one of the things we kind of are relatable on is, in our mindset, we said, if we reach them at a young age, then we have a better chance of, you know, helping them grow and molding them into what society actually is in need of. And that is someone who also knows how to turn around and pull the next generation up. And so, yes, it's about sending food home for the children, but you were working to try to make sure that it's not just the kids that get the food, but you were working that the family, even like if they have siblings that are in high school.
Yes. And then
so
the harvesting, so Grace Packs has its own stipulations and different things, and they'll help out if the kids are in other schools. But Harvesting Hope, the one that's through First United Methodist, does help with some of those other kids in families that may not fit the regular mold. So we're able to capitalize on the Grace Packs program, and then also use Harvesting Hopes to help the ones where it's a little bit unconventional, or there's more kids in the house, and more things going on. So that's the blessing in that is, like I said, it's just, like I said, if we know they got 6 kids in the house and there's only 2 at our school, how do we make sure we get all 6 kids their meal, if that's what parents are wanting and needing. So, and like you said, it's what, we want kids to be their best, right? We call our kids shining stars, and we want them to be their best. And I think God has blessed with my high school background, because I know what it looks like on the other end. I'm able to share with my staff. I did it at CA Moore and now here. All right, I know what the end goal, at least in K through 12, is. So like we're not just building kids for the next year, we're building them so they can be great high school students, and we're giving more opportunities, because it's so hard with everything going on to be in the moment, but we also need okay, how is this going to impact them for a while, right? How's this going to impact them? Because if you change a kid, you can change the world. I am such a believer in that.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Relatability is key. You have to be relatable. A goal is important. You have to have the goal. Once you create that goal, then you have to have a plan in place so that it helps you get there. And it sounds as if you're on the right track. So I do want to ask for the community's help. There's a flyer that I put out last week. You're more than welcome to go to A Mother's Love 2021's page on Facebook to see that flyer. And that flyer consists of what we're in need of as far as the closet, the Sweet Boutique, clothing for kids from K through 5, girls and boys, shoes, as well as personal hygiene. Please contribute as best as you can, but I'm going to tell you, as I did when I put the live post up last week, if you wouldn't put your babies in it, don't send that to us. If they're growing out of it, then that's one thing. But if you wouldn't put your babies in it, then don't do that to others. So yes, I know that, it may be a gift that you're providing, but we want them to still have a sense of pride in what it is. And that's another reason why I'm also calling on some volunteers to go and help set as I like to say, the boutique, so do you, so that when they walk in this room, if they do have to take and go in and pick out a pair of pants or a pair of shoes, they can go in with pride and leave out with even more pride, because now they're walking out with something that looks good and makes them feel good. My grandmother always said, no matter how sickly you feel, you get up, you get dressed, because when you look good, you have a tendency to feel good. And so I do believe in that. And especially in our culture, you would know if we only have a dime to our name, because we're going to look good on the exterior. And so it's important that we continue to do that for our children. So Ms. Brown, I thank you for that. We're going to come back to you, but we're going to take it and go to the next segment. And what this segment will consist of is some of the things that we have done together at CA Moore and the rest of the community. So upon this, we're going to resume, and we will have Mr. Henry Duhart, who's also near and dear to my heart. So I thank you very much, ladies. Enjoy the clip, and gentlemen for that matter, and we'll see you momentarily. Mr. Barron, you got to tell me when I'm good to talk.
You're good. You're
okay, thank you. We got a minute if you want to get a drink of water or anything. And if you need me to remember to bring up something, don't hesitate during these moments to remind me, and then I will make sure I circle back to it. Okay. And
that's the one thing I forgot. Our Big Apple fundraiser.
Okay,
that's the only thing I forgot to mention.
Okay, so let me go, and I have a flyer that I can take. Making sure I have time to be able to let you do the flyer, young man. I'm sorry. You tell me when we go back, right?
Yes, I'll let you know.
Okay.
It's still playing.
Okay, so I got to find the flyer because we didn't have time to get it in, Ms. Brum. You sent it this morning, and my son said he was going to fire me before I hired him. So I told him, okay, leave it alone.
I gotta run and get my charger in my other car real quick before this phone dies.
You got time because you're not up for a little bit. So it's after Henry, it will be Mr. Rosemond.
Once it's over, did you want me to bring it back in or?
Tell me that what's over, please.
Once the video, the commercial.
Bring what back in?
Your podcast. The podcast
yes,
back in. Okay.
Yes. Only because Dan, I don't think we can see him when he walked. It's his camera. I'm looking for Miss Brome's flyer, so I'm going in my email to get her flyer. There it is. Now you have control over my computer, right? From your place, right?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
Okay, so I got to pull it up so that I can share my screen with everybody. Then thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, so now while we're doing that, let me go to the Zoom. And you got make sure you give me a heads up when it's okay.
It's over. It just ended.
Thank you guys so much and welcome back. I appreciate that. That's just a little bit of insight on what it is that we do as a community and as a village for the beautiful Fort Pierce, Florida. And so I'm excited now to introduce our next guest, which is Mr. Henry Duhart. And he was modest. I'm just gonna say that myself. I've seen this young man in action. I've worked side by side with him on a specific project that we are going to plead to the community about. And the man was just running like Speedy Gonzalez. I kid you, I hadn't seen that cartoon character in a long time until I saw him in action during the Juneteenth pageant. And sometimes he forgot to eat. So I don't know, I love what I do, but I'm not gonna forget to eat. So with that being said, Mr. Henry Duhart is a young man. He did run for office. He does so much in the community. From helping a garden get started. He's very present at also CA Moore, where he's giving back to the youth. He was part of the block party that the Incubate Center had one year, where he was actually one of the musicians that sang there. He just does so much. And right now he's in his car, ladies and gentlemen, all the way in Atlanta, Georgia. So that means I hold a special place in his heart, the fact that he stopped what he was doing today to make sure that he was a part of this. So with that being said, Mr. Duhart, can you talk to the community about who you are, a little bit what you do, what your goal is, and then same thing, how can they get behind you and rally and lift you up and help out?
Yeah, so my name is Henry Duhart. I work for the nonprofit Families of Treasure Coast, which has been working in St. Lucie County for over 10, 15 years. They used to go by the Parent Academy, and they're funded by Children's Service Council of St. Lucie County. And now we're funded by Southeast Florida Behavioral Health to work in Martin County as well. And I basically, our current CEO had kind of been watching me since I ran for office almost about 7 years ago when I was 23 years old in the city of Fort Pierce in the county. Became the nominee for my party in 2020, almost won by 2,000 or so votes, and I would have been your first and youngest commissioner in the county. And I guess she had been watching my ability to organize with the Black Lives Matter marches and Stewart, and basically every Black Lives Matter march that happened, I was a part of or helped organize through that time, and liked my organizing skills. And so I lead my own leadership and civic engagement program where people take my classes from churches to schools to just random groups of people who see me online. And then Children's Service Council funds and sponsors a community project that we all do together to kind of build more advocacy within the community for parents. In hopes that parents and mentors, they're more involved in their community and know about resources, then there's less child neglect in the home and more participation of families in their own communities. So one of the amazing events was the Juneteenth pageant last year. Ms. Jackie, you were one of those who took the class. We had a class of about 20 some individuals from our area who took the course, and everyone was like, we need more young things for people to do. So we began to organize a Miss Juneteenth pageant. We had about, I think it was almost, it felt like 20 young ladies. It was like between 15 or 20 young ladies participated. And it was amazing because they all had to do community service projects. So it's not just about, beauty or anything like that or outfits. So first and foremost, they can't participate until they complete a certain amount of community service hours. And then, of course, they get to participate in the pageant itself, where they represent different cultures and exposure of, the African history, culture, where we come from, beyond slavery, before slavery, actually, is what we try to heighten. And people understand that Juneteenth is more than just emancipation, but the fact that we come from a long lineage of power and success. So it was a great time. Ms. Jackie was like my go-to person as well that day. And I was really shocked how the community really supported it. I mean, they usually support stuff, but I was just surprised, we was packed up in that stadium. So it was exciting.
Yes,
so this year, because it went so well, we not only just doing a Miss Juneteenth, but a Mr. So I do appreciate you, Miss Jackie, for this opportunity. Anyone watching right now, if you have any young men, please let them sign up. The grand prize right now is $1,000, potentially $1,500. I got an email from the men of Omega Psi Phi to donate $500. So if we get a ladies version, a sorority to also maybe match them, then we'll do $1,500 grand prize for male and female. If not, then we'll just do a $1,200 grand prize for both male and female categories. And yeah, it's going to be right here at the Fitness Center again, and it's going to be fun. And signups close November 1st.
And I thank you because they actually were closed. And I sent them a message. I say, can we at least give it until Monday? So you extended it until November 1st. So thank you for that. I salute you for that. And all these female sororities, I know some of them are watching us right now. What is it? I challenge you. I challenge you, ladies, don't let those men fraternities outdo us ladies. So please make sure some of you ladies get together. And then what is it that you needed from them again, Henry?
Well, the email from the Omega Psi Phi was donating $500 to the male category.
Okay, so then maybe you guys can donate $700. We're just going to up them up a little bit by $200. Okay, so I'm starting what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? I'm starting come on, help me out, panel.
A challenge.
Challenge. Thank you. I appreciate it. We're starting a challenge. Okay, so I'm calling you guys out for this. Some of the ladies. So I appreciate you, Henry. To that. You mentioned something about the young ladies in last year's event. And I did kind of speak about this a little bit in one of the advertisements that I did. You're 100% correct. It wasn't just getting on the stage and putting on a beautiful gown. We put it in their hands as to picking a country so that they understood what was out there outside of America. They picked country. Not only did they have to pick the country, but we required them to take and create a costume surrounding that country. We required them to tell a little bit about what that costume consisted of with them. We narrowed it down to where we wanted it to be a tasteful pageant. And so by being tasteful, we put certain stipulations in the guidelines as to what they could do. Their hair had to be a certain way. Their nails couldn't have like this red polish I've got on. We didn't allow that. It was neutral things that they had to abide by. Because if you were to sign up for an actual authentic pageant around the world, it's the same thing. So we kind of wanted them to understand the rules. When you have rules in place, you have to abide by them. But we also gave them the ability to kind of express themselves a little bit where they needed to. We put things in place where they had to write a little bit about where they were from. And I enjoyed that part because a lot of them, when they picked them, if you remember, they picked the countries that they were from. Now, to that, some did not get a chance to represent the country they were from because we only gave them one chance to pick a country. And if it was taken, then they had to find something else to do. But what I loved about for the ones that were successful in picking that country, I got a chance to learn something, whether it was about a cuisine or whether it was about the colors for the area, but it gave me insight on things that I didn't know as a grown person who's a grandmother. So I really enjoyed that part. And I can't wait till we up it a notch. That's what I was looking for just a moment ago, up it a notch. I can't wait until we up it a notch for the next pageant. So I'm looking forward to that. We've got about how many men right now, you said?
Last I checked, I think it was like 5 young men. I believe it was 4 or 5 young men last I checked. So because of you, we're going to extend it. And I mean, we have enough young ladies already, some people from last year, but I'm hoping I can get at least 6, 7, or 8 of them, especially those divine nines, or, if you got young male, let them have like the younger versions of their fraternities, getting them to sign. I mean, how hard is it to get someone to sign up? So a lot of times our community, we got to do the easiest work is the hardest work sometimes for our community to do.
Right.
So I try to push them to really do that and not just depend on one or a couple of people. So I'm hoping that men in the community or even women in the community, their grandsons, their niece, their nephews, their sons, sign them up because it's definitely a great thing. And it's a great thing for their image and for not just their image, but for their self-esteem, for their ego a little bit as Black people and young Black people at our age to feel overly confident about who we are and our color of our skin once in a while. It's okay to have a little bit of ego about that sometimes to just, get that praise from your community. Like the young ladies were like lighting up, not only just to be on the stage, but to look in the audience and see their grandmothers and their aunts and their uncles and their aunts of the same color and everybody's dressed up too in their African garments. that does something for a young person. We even had people crying backstage. It was a lot going on with emotions. It's a very stick. They take it. I told you, Ms. Jackie, I did not know how seriously these young ladies were taking this thing backstage, until you got that day of. So it's a great thing, I think, for them to experience. So please just get some more young men to sign up so that it's a beautiful show to show Black young men and Black young women and their excellence.
6 to 9 more young men is who we're looking for. So if you could please, you're more than welcome to get a hold of Mr. Duhart. We're going to put up information for every single person at the end when we go to close out. They'll be able to provide a phone number and an email address so that the community can take and participate in whichever manner that they so see fit. So I thank you very much for that. I've enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next year and the year after and therefore and so on. So thank you for what you do for our community. With that being said, we are going to take a quick segment break, if you will. And that's going to take us into the next segment, which is we're going to talk about Oaks at Moores Creek 2, the phase 2 section of that. And so I hope you guys enjoy this so that you can see what it is that we're going to be talking about. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Henry, how old do the boys have to be? Are they teenagers is what you're looking for?
They would just have to be going to high school by the summer.
Okay.
So basically 8 to 12, but the 8th graders who sign up now have to be going to high school by the summertime. And
Okay.
only require 2.3 GPA. They wanted 2.5, but I know how it is sometimes just to just, not everybody can test well. And so don't mean they shouldn't be able to. I just don't agree with that. So it's a 2.3. We met in the middle or higher. I'll send the link out to you guys as well to sign up. It's just a simple link online.
And you can put it in the chat if you want to, Henry.
Yes, ma'am, I'll do that.
We're still we're not back on yet, Mr. Production, is it?
No, we're not.
Okay, thank you.
The Miss Juneteenth video
is showing. Okay, you got it. So Henry, when we're done, just so you all know, this is going to be placed on the YouTube channel. And I don't know, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's gonna get all of this. I didn't think about that part. So even the bloopers are gonna be on there, but it's okay. At some point, I'm gonna put him, we're gonna have to cut it out. Exactly. But you'll get a chance to see this, in the commercials in between.
Okay, that's cool.
And that's right. The flyer, I said I got it. That's right. Daniel, I'm going to introduce you, and then we're going to cut to the flyer, which consists of the neighborhood layout and the price point for the family income. And then you'll talk a little bit about it. And then it's going to go back to another break revolving around the Oaks of Moores Creek. Okay.
Got it.
That's right. I forgot it. It's Juneteenth first.
Going back in.
Thank you guys so much for joining us back. And for those that are just now tuning in, we are Amplifying the Community's Voice podcast. We've had 2 great speakers that just were before this portion here. Ms. Makita Brome, who is the new principal for Francis K. Sweet, which is a magnet school here in Fort Pierce, Florida. And then we had Mr. Henry Duhart. And if you are here in Fort Pierce, you should know that name because he's just in everything. You can think of it, he's a part of it, especially when it comes to the youth. We are now going to introduce our next panelist, and that is Mr. Daniel Roseman. We have a like mind, he and I. And one of the things that I've had the pleasure of doing is working with him previously on the same project. And then there was a space in between. And then I want to say maybe July, I got a phone call. I looked down at my phone and I actually said 305. I said, this is a telemarketer. And then the Holy Spirit said, no, answer. And I did, and it was Mr. Roseman, and we were Rosemond, and we were speaking, and he shared a little bit of what it was that he would like for me to take and do. And I just said, say no more, it's done, because my mindset is on doing exactly what it is that you are trying to do. And if I could be a part of that, then so be it. And I wasn't even looking to get paid, but Mr. Roseman said, no. You're gonna get, so I said, okay, I'm not gonna stop you. So with that being said, I am humbled that you know, trusted me enough to work alongside of you and Miss Maria. I call her Queen also. And I appreciate you for believing in me, because this is a project that's not for the faint-hearted. And it takes strategic planning, and it takes strategic watching, if you will, because there's a lot of things that we have to do behind the scene. So I turn it over to you so that you can share with the world who you are and what it is that you are trying to do.
Thank you, Jackie. And I appreciate so much the platform and an opportunity to connect with the Fort Pierce community. This is a great platform. And thank you for including me and our organization and our project there in Fort Pierce. Just by way of background, I am a recent convert to the affordable housing development space. I come from local government, where I spent the better part of 30 years. Back in 2016, I was the city manager for a pretty, it's a medium-sized city in Broward County. I went through a horrific situation where I was wrongfully terminated from that organization. It prompted my family and I to relocate to Southern California. And Dr. Hill was talking about seeing things in the spiritual. During the time of my separation and our relocation to California, I had a friend of mine who had told me, you know, you should really consider starting a nonprofit with your background and experience, blah, blah, blah. And I heard it, but I just wasn't feeling it. And when we moved to California in January 31st of 2018, 3 months later, I was in our daughter's apartment because we had to pretty much shack in with her. I was going to the kitchen to make coffee, my fatherly duties. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, okay, what about now? And I said, what about now what? And I felt the Lord speak to me and saying, well, what about starting the nonprofit now? You're in a new state, you're in a totally different environment. And I waited till Miss Maria, you know, got up, I made her coffee, and I said, listen, this is what the Lord just impressed upon my heart. What do you think? He said, if that's what God told you, you need to do it. So I finished my coffee, I went to our room, and I started typing up a business plan. And that was in 2018. We launched with using personal savings, started the business. We filed our paperwork for the IRS. That year, we got our letter of determination as a 501c3 in November. The attorney that I was working with at the time told me, don't expect an immediate answer. These things take several months, sometimes several years. They usually ask for follow-up paperwork. And we got it, I think, maybe less than 2 months after we had filed. And I didn't have my glasses on when I got the letter in the mail. And I thought, this is clearly a mistake. And I ran back to our apartment and I put my glasses on and I started to really just praise God, because I knew that was what we call a God wink. You know, I was really struggling with everything that had happened, trying to figure out how to pivot vocationally. And it was just something that I really felt compelled to do. So I say all that to be able to share kind of, you know, my heart and my background as to what we are trying to do. When we started the nonprofit, we started with the objective of developing affordable housing in the most pressing or challenging communities. I have, as I mentioned, been in South Florida, hence the 305 area code. I've been in South Florida for the better part of 40 years. I had to relocate because it was just for my own mental health. It was just too much pain and too much trauma that I had experienced. And so when we started to try to build the business, I was obviously trying to cultivate the market in California. But in 2019, we opened an office in Florida, in Palm Beach. A former colleague of mine had an office space, and he says, listen, I've been thinking about doing a nonprofit. If you want to just use our address as the space, I'm with you. And so God kept opening these doors. And that's how the door for Fort Pierce opened in 2019, early part of 2020. The city of Fort Pierce and the Fort Pierce Redevelopment Agency issued a solicitation, and we responded to that solicitation. Now, mind you, as an organization, we didn't have a whole lot of project track record, nor did we have any what they call pursuit capital, but ourselves, along with a general contractor we had worked with before, we decided to joint venture and apply for that or respond to that solicitation. We were selected, and we have been working with the city in terms of the development agreement and everything that's involved in that all along. So the project is 15, the new construction of 15 new homes, single family dwellings on land that is currently still owned by the Fort Pierce Redevelopment Agency, and we're working on the final stages of them transferring title to our organization so that we will own the land and then build these single family dwelling units on the site. It is based upon the development agreement, an opportunity for first-time homebuyers earning no more than 120% of the area median income for St. Lucie County. And Jackie, I had shared with you recently the updated table based upon the family or the household composition, what those income levels are. And I'm sure you will share that with your viewers or your listeners.
Yes.
But the project and why you said earlier that we were like-minded, the project is more than just building new housing. The project, in my estimation, is about changing the legacy of these families that are going to live there, because there's nothing that does more to change the trajectory of a household or a family than home ownership. And that's one of the things that really was a driving force for me to start the business. It was not about, what do I do? You know, I could have easily, I think, gone and gotten a job someplace else, but I really felt like I wanted to do something meaningful, and I really wanted to invest the talents and the experience that God had given me up until now to do something that was really transformative and legacy formative. And so that's the reason why this project is so important, because the area is part of the redevelopment area for Fort Pierce. It is not the most appealing area, but that is exactly, I think, the space where I believe where God wants us, because the investment is in terms of cultivating the raw land to being able to have something 3 years, 5 years from now, where the people that buy are going to have equity in their home. They're going to have an opportunity to pass down the ownership of these properties to their children or their grandchildren. And so we're really, really excited about this project, and just wanted to take this opportunity to really kind of mention it to as many people as possible. We've got several lots that have already been reserved, but we still have lots available. The price points are from $290 all the way up to $350, which if you've been watching this market, you know that is a really, really great price point for anywhere in Florida, really, because Florida is a crazy market right now. So new construction, anywhere from, I think the minimum square footage is about 1,300 or 1,400 square feet, all the way up to 1,674 square feet. So really, really beautiful new construction homes. So I'll stop talking and
you're going to continue to talk, because we're going to take a break and give them the ability to see the layout of the land, if you will. And you said something that struck a chord in me, and that was having the ability to ensure generations to come have a space that they call their own. You know, we talked about this, and I'm not going to say a specific name, but you and I had a conversation about me giving back to a specific organization for a decade. The entire my career, I made sure that we took and participated in something. And one day I happened to pay attention to the small fine print. And within that small fine print, I noticed, and this is how you know the Lord is not just working with me, but he's working with you also. You didn't want to leave the nest, and he had to kick you out. And that was the only way you were going to do what you needed to do to get started. But to that, I noticed in that small fine print, I said, it's almost as if this particular foundation is wanting women to stay single. Because when you are able to obtain a home through this particular program, one of the stipulations this program places in place is you can't get married.
Right.
So what is that telling our women? Stay single. Mm-hmm. And in our culture, that's not something we are trying to do. On one hand, we're preaching and teaching foundation stability, the importance of having a mother and a father, or two parents in a home, if you will, so that the children have a better chance of becoming something in life. That's what we kind of preach out of our mouths, right? But mm-hmm. then we implement these programs or we allow these programs to be created in our community where nobody's paying attention to the fine print. Because right. what we're seeing is the forefront of that, I'm going to use my name, Jackie was able to get a home. So we're just excited that Jackie may not have gotten an opportunity on her own. But when we take and slow down, remove the carrot that's dangling over our head and pay attention to the fine print, that program is saying to you, you can have this home, but there's two things that won't ever happen. Number one, you can't get married, because if you do, I'll take those keys, please. Right. And number two, God forbid something happens to you tomorrow, you can't will it to your children. So it kind of contradicts what it is that we're saying to our community. Right. So the only thing I want to say to us as a people, as a whole, as a community, as a city, wake up, pay attention to what we're allowing to come in our backyards. And if we are allowing it, then we've got to be able to be the voice and say, well, I'm okay with that happening, but why are we requiring this to take place? We have to allow our voices to be heard. I'm not saying go knock down a city's door and demand a change, no, but we do need to let them know that we are awake and we are paying attention to what it is that you are saying on one hand, but you're actually doing with another. And so this is why this is a no-brainer for me, because there's no stipulations like that on the program I
was just about to say that what you just described is not our project and it's not this development. We don't have that stipulation. In fact, it is something, as you and I had discussed, Jackie, that goes back historically in this country for really communities of color having these elements of dispersing the traditional family structure. It's something that I hold very near and dear to my heart and something that really irks me. And I think part of the reason why I got into this business, I like to say as a nonprofit, because when we were forming the organization, I had one of the board members that I solicited ask me, well, why are you doing a nonprofit as opposed to a for-profit? I said, because it's not about the money, it's about the mission. And so that's really been our mantra. It's mission over money. Now, it's not to say that we don't make money, because obviously everybody has bills to pay, but it's a different business model. We don't look necessarily at our ratio or return on investment. It's really about the overall project and the impact to the community. So I'm really, really glad that you pointed out the difference that this project is, I think, a really important catalyst and something that is going to really change the face of the Lincoln Park neighborhood specifically and the city of Fort Pierce as a whole.
I appreciate that. I am so excited to get started on actually marketing it even more. I was a little reserved with it because I wanted to give you the ability to speak to the community so that it came from the CEO first as to what the vision is for. It's my pleasure and thank you. And now that you've had a chance to take and do just that, you guys gonna get tired of me on social media because I'm ready now. And I do want to say this, we're gonna take a quick break so that we can see what the layout of the land looks like. Daniel, you may not know this, but I've had a chance, today's Saturday? I rode by there on Thursday. Grass is grown, the butterflies are laid out. It's just a humbleness within the community. It's nice and quiet. And so I got out of my vehicle, and for those of you that have not, I encourage you to take and go down, going south on 13th Street. You make a left turn, that's going east on Avenue B. And you will see the development we're working on. Am I right? We're still working on trying to get some form of signage so that you are able to see exactly where the entrance is going to take you. But as of right now, you will know because it's the newest road right up in that area. You make a turn to your left, which will take you back going north, and you can only get in one way. So as we say, any rubberneckers coming in the neighborhood, we know while they're going in there to see what it is that you got going on. But it's a beautiful place, and I walked it and I gave it my blessings, and I asked the good Lord to allow us to find the right families for this area, because the purpose of that is to ensure that someone who did not have a normal opportunity to seize the moment and have a piece of what we call the American dream. And I do want to put a call out to other realtors. You know, Mr. Rosemond left that opportunity up to me as to whether or not, because the exclusivity is for a short period, but he asked me, you know, it's up to you if you'd like to work with other agents. And I said, you know what? And he actually has said this before, a piece of the pie is better than no pie at all. My dream is to get people in there. And that's what the bottom line is. We want to make sure we get people in those homes. So if you are an agent who's listening now or will be listening, and you've got buyers that are interested in owning a brand new constructed home, and they meet the criteria of what the guidelines are as far as their income as a family, then give me a call. Even if you don't know what that criteria looks like, maybe you don't get a chance to see the information aired, but you can hear the sound of my voice. I ask you to reach out to me so that I can make sure we determine that. So I'm excited for that. Let's go ahead and go to a short break so that we can see this. And then Mr. Rosemond, we're going to bring you back on so that we can ask a couple more questions.
Sure.
And then we will go to the next segment. So I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna stretch my leg. I've been sitting in this for so long.
I'm sorry. I thank you.
No.
Now,
if my girls were here, you would just hear them all over.
You got it. And then to my co-host, when we come back, once I introduce you as the co-host, we're back.
Oh, no, you're okay.
Okay.
I was gonna ask, just remember you had two of the constructions. I'm just making sure before I put it back up.
So the second one, which has got our contact information, that's not on there?
No, remember you asked me to take it out. The second construction.
Oh, well, that's the wrong one I had you to take out. So you got to find that, buddy. Okay. Right. We got to make sure that gets on some kind of way or another.
I have the one prior to the construction being finished.
That's the one I want, but it's the one which shows the homes of the property. Can we find that one? Because that's the most important one. It shows them what it looks like on the inside. Do you need me to resend it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, thank you. Can you play that out of order?
Out of order?
I mean,
yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. When we get ready, are we back on?
Yes, you're coming back on now. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed this so far, and that was a quick glimpse of what ETWDC, which stands for East to West Development Corporation. That is what their vision consists of as far as that subdivision, which is the Oaks of Moores Creek Phase 2. We use an acronym or an abbreviation, if you will, of OMC and the Roman numeral 2. So that being said, as you saw, you enter into the subdivision, and at the end you have a cul-de-sac. There are a few of those lots that have been claimed already, but that's a positive side. But we do have 15 homes in all that we're trying to get filled in. And of those 15 homes that we're trying to get filled in, there are 4 different models. Of those 4 different models, there are 2 that are single story, and then there are 2 that are 2-story. And so, Daniel, the properties that we're speaking of, what can you tell them as far as some of the amenities on the inside they will have so that the potential buyers get excited about it?
Certainly. All of them are 3-bedroom, 2 baths with a garage. All of them have central AC, full kitchen with the appliances. The 2-story models obviously have a little bit more square footage, but we are using, to the best extent possible, energy efficient appliances. One of the other stipulations that we have negotiated with the city is to bring gas, natural gas, to each of the sites. So each of the properties are going to have access to natural gas, and obviously we will match those appliances. So in terms of the operability and the cost of maintenance and utilities on an ongoing basis for each of the sites, you're going to have a little bit of a break because you're going to have gas appliances throughout. So very, very.
Wait, say that again, because I'm a gas lady. I love the food just tastes better on gas.
It does.
Say that again.
It does taste better, and it's much more. I think predictable and reliable. Even if you have a power outage, usually the gas lines are buried underneath, so you typically will still be able to have gas in the event of a hurricane or a natural disaster. And that was something that we negotiated with not just the city of Fort Pierce, but the Fort Pierce Utility Authority. So we have a contract with them to be able to make sure that gas lines were brought in. They all have and I forget the exact specifications, but the gas water heaters. So they're going to be fully equipped new construction homes that rival anything that you would buy market rate for, anywhere from $500,000 to $800,000 right now in the market. The reason why we're able to sell them at the price points that we're selling them is because of it's a public-private partnership. So the Fort Pierce Redevelopment Authority is donating the land. They're also allocating down payment assistance to certain buyers to help with the down payment and providing those subsidies. And we're just doing everything that we can to make sure that we can get the bids in. The one thing that I will tell the audience that's listening and watching, the challenge for affordable housing development is that when you are buying construction materials and when you're getting pricing for subcontractors, you're paying exactly the same for those materials as you would in a luxury or market rate unit. We're not skimping out getting cheap products or things that are like you were talking about earlier with the principle. If you're collecting clothes, you don't want things that you wouldn't give your baby to give to somebody else just because it's a donation. I want everyone to understand that the quality construction that we are building is the same as you would have as if you were buying a market rate unit. So you're not getting anything cheap. You're not getting anything secondhand or used in terms of a construction material. It's just that the way that the deal structure is organized, we're able to do it at a lower cost because of the subsidy and because of the cooperation that we've had with the city and the Fort Pierce Redevelopment Authority.
I'm glad you said that. And I just been made aware that we have the second video that's going to give them a glimpse of what those homes on the inside will look at. Obviously, these are not the actual completed models, but this is exactly a glimpse into what those models will look like on the inside. But before we go to that clip, I want to turn this over to Mr. Henry Duhart. He actually has a question for you, Daniel. So Mr. Henry, go right ahead.
Yeah, I definitely have a question because I know you're kind of somewhat new to Fort Pierce, but we've had situations where city gave land to developers, and then a lot of times things shut down sooner than they should start due to whatever weird thing that happens, where maybe a certain group of maybe favoritism to who gets the homes, or just people selling to their friends at lower rates. These are just history of affordable housing and Fort Pierce projects. If anyone who's been here for a while knows about it. So I would love to know, one, how do you also plan to get this word out to those who really truly could use that, and maybe diversifying those who get it, not just a particular group of friends or group of people who know each other, but seeing different people from this area, especially the fact that we have a lot of single families, either co-parenting situations or just young parents who are choosing to stay in their hometown, but they're going to kind of get stuck in that situation of renting for the rest of their life and kind of continuing the generational bad things happening. So as a young homeowner myself, I was the product of generational wealth. My grandmother left me a home at 27, and I didn't realize how much rent was stopping me from doing things that I wanted to do with my career. And not having to really pay rent for like 2.5, 3 years has opened up the doors for me to be successful in ways I didn't think I could be at a young age. So how are you guys going to reach, especially like maybe young homeowners as well? And also, what is the cap of once I apply? Do you guys have work with banks now to help people get maybe those down payments? What are the situations for once I apply, I can set myself best for doing that if I don't make over 100K, really, if I don't make over 60K a year?
Yep.
If I may, Daniel, and then
Yes.
you, because this is where it's important for me to make sure I get this right. And then piggyback off or correct anything where I may leave off or make the mistake of saying wrong. So Henry, first thing, being able to answer your first half of your question, which is how are we going to get the word across? Right here on the platform is a start. It's word of mouth. It's getting it out as the realtor, because I am a licensed realtor here in the state of Florida with well over a decade under my belt. That's where my responsibility comes in at as well. But I'm also leaning to the community, and that's where you heard me say in the beginning, I was a little bit more reserved with doing so because I wanted to make sure Daniel had a chance to speak to the community about the project first, because he's the CEO. So that's the first half. We will be also conducting, Daniel and I have kind of scratched the surface on doing this. We just have to solidify a few things. And I'm hoping now with us putting this out here, we can kind of go ahead and wrap that portion up. But we will be doing town hall sessions or roundtable sessions. There will be a home buying workshop that's going to take place, because you're 100% correct. When we had the first phase done, when I say we, I mean here in the city of Fort Pierce, when the first phase was done and completed and those homeowners moved in them, some of them did lose them for the very reason what you stated. They did not understand what owning a home consisted of. They didn't know they needed to save for a new roof. They didn't know they needed to save for the hot water heater going out. And so that's where the home buying workshop is going to come into play, where it's going to educate them on being a homeowner, number one. And number two, it's going to educate them on how to get from the beginning of being pre-approved to the end, which is the closing table. The third half of that question that you asked, it was, are we working with lenders? And yes, we are. I know a minimum of 2, but we may have even 3. And those lenders are, how can I say this? They have an experience, if you will, where they are able to qualify the buyer, because we are going to be dealing with buyers that may not have A+ credit. And let me just say it won't have A+ credit in some areas, but the lenders that we have on board are aware of what they need to be looking for, and not just looking for, but if we can't, my motto that I say in real estate is no doesn't mean no, it just means not now. So if we are dealing with someone who can't buy now, then the lenders who we've got on deck will set up a pathway for them to get there. And then from that, those lenders are also going to be made aware of what the guidelines are, because the city of Fort Pierce did put in a stipulation where it has to be a certain level, not just the city, but so does Daniel's foundation, because again, it's called affordable housing. And in order to be considered affordable housing, then there's a certain limit to the income that home can make. Doesn't mean that it can't have 2 parties, meaning 2 spouses in there, which I love. It's just saying those spouses can't exceed a certain annual income. And so to that, Daniel, I'm going to now turn it over to you so that whatever I may have left out or made a mistake on, you can make the corrections too.
Absolutely. And Henry, thank you for expressing that concern. It certainly is, as an organization, one of the things that our development agreement stipulates is how we are going to market and do the outreach to bring buyers in, to ensure that people from the community have an opportunity. We started off working with community-based organizations. I and my assistant had started reaching out to all of the major employers in the city of Fort Pierce and St. Lucie County. And, we had marginal success, in part because of how long the development process takes. We had to go through the platting process. We had to go through allowing the city to complete the engineering work. That's why when Jackie was talking about all the road works being completed, that's the top layer, but there was a lot of underground piping and utilities that were already completed to each of those parcels. So now that all of that is done, we have reached out to Jackie because of her affinity in the community, because of her reach there. We don't want to be the ones to say we're bringing buyers into the community that are coming from other places. Our goal, and we share this in common with the city manager and the city officials, is to the extent that we can have these homes purchased and occupied by local residents, either children of families that have lived in the neighborhood who are now at the age where they can buy their own home, or people that have rented in the community that have not been able to buy because of the prices being what they are. That's the target population. And that's what we're hoping that Jackie, through her outreach efforts and even this platform and all of you that are listening, can be able to say, hey, this is a great opportunity. This is a wonderful chance to be able to keep this, jewel, I think, in the community, in the hands of the folks that have lived there. And one of the things that we also did as part of the marketing effort is that we created a marketing website to not just show what the homes are going to look like. We also went further and showed you the investment that the city is making over the next 3 to 5 years in that Lincoln Park neighborhood, because some of the concerns that we had heard from some of the early buyers was, I'm not sure about the neighborhood. And what we tried to tell them is, don't look at what it looks like right now. Let's give you a picture of what it's going to look like 5 years from now, and have that vision and have that perspective. And I know it's hard to be able to see that. And that's why we wanted to do the website, to show you everything that the city has programmed for their investment, and to let you know that when you buy one of these homes, you're going to have what we call instant equity. You're going to have value in the property from the day that you do the closing. So I think that's very, very exciting.
It is. And I like I said, just going by there the other day to see the finishing portion of the infrastructure, I can see it. And, that's probably one of the things that only us realtors and developers really have an eye for, unless you just have something that's a specific gift. But most of the times when we walk in a buyer to the door, if it's got a smell, they're ready to go. Yep. So you really have to know that the smell is here now, but when you get in here and you turn it around and you rehab the place, that smell won't be there. So I can see it, and I'm really, really excited about it. So let's take, on that note, we're going to take, I just got note that we have the second half of that. So that'll give you a chance, guys, to see the actual 4 models and give you an insight on what the inside of those models will look like. So we will go ahead and be back in just a minute. We're going to allow you to take a look at the next video.
All good.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Ms. J, I do appreciate it too. Can you send me, or Ms. Jackie, if you guys, maybe even just a website or flyers that I can keep in my stories and stuff like that, because I actually think people do know what it will look like. It's just will they be there in 5 years. It's not that we don't know if Fort Pierce is going to change. We just don't know if we're going to be there. So the fact they're trying to get people who are from there to now become homeowners in places they paid rent for years, like people who live in 29th Street projects, people pay so much, people pay like 3 mortgages off in their whole lifetime living in the projects. So if you guys have any flyers or something like that, I definitely want to keep that in my stories. And whatever I can do to put it word out, or something I can just like copy paste send to friends of mine who be like, I want to live in Fort Pierce, but I can't find a place.
I just made a note to do that. I just wrote it down. See, so I wrote it down to make sure I get you the flyer. Now, the only thing, the flyer that you're going to receive is going to have the older income stipulation. But Daniel, the new one you sent me, it's got the new dollar amount. Am I right?
Yeah, as of 2023. Okay. Those
are
published. The income limits get published every year through Florida Housing, and they're released in, they vary anytime between April and June. So what I sent you is the new household income, and it depends on the household size. So when you look at the table, you're going to look at the number, and then you want to be able to know, okay, how many people are going to live in the household? That's going to be the income, and the income can be the salary, it could be child support, it could be disability income. Any one of those things can count towards your income. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate you. I'm glad you had a chance to take a look at that, and you heard us having a sidebar conversation, and what we were communicating about was the income for the Oaks of Morris Creek Phase 2. I'm going to take and once we wrap this post up today, I will actually take and share that flyer if I can get the green light from Mr. Rosemond to be able to do so to the public. Okay, great. Okay, I will go ahead and make sure I put that post up. And then for everybody here on the panel, I'm going to email, like I've been bugging you about this podcast. I'm going to email you those flyers. Ms. Brom, you have a folder, a file that I wanted to get with you anyway, so that you can also present this to your teachers, because if you got teachers that are traveling from afar and they want to be a part of FK Suite, but the the traveling is becoming an issue. Now they have an opportunity to move here and work less than 10 minutes away. So I appreciate that. That being said, so we just wrapped up that first portion of it, Daniel, but you've got a couple more minutes here that you can actually talk about it. I dedicated the biggest of this evening to you. And the reasoning being, it's important that we get those properties filled. We went over our time. I'm sorry, but not sorry. Why? I think everything that we're discussing tonight, I think it's a value. I think it's something that's going to change the trajectory of the Fort Pierce area, and it's going to change the trajectory within the homes of Fort Pierce. So I appreciate you guys' patience. I know we got some of you that are sitting in the car, and if it's not comfortable, just bear with us a little bit longer, okay? But Daniel, let's continue with the Oaks of Morris Creek too. Anything you think of that you did not get a chance to share with us?
I don't think so. I think, just for people that are listening or considering, don't be overwhelmed. And we shared this when we did the town hall meeting probably a year ago, Jackie, through Zoom. We had a list of people that were interested, and we thought we were going to have all of these units sold out. One of the things that was a takeaway for me is that the home buying process is can be very overwhelming. And it can put people off because of the amount of documents that they have to gather and the amount of responses that they have to give on a regular basis. And I will say this: don't let that come between the legacy for you and your family, because yes, it is difficult. Yes, it is a lot that's required, but that is just really the beginning. Because once you become a homeowner, guess what? Paying your mortgage on a regular basis, making sure your taxes are paid, making sure that the repairs are done or the maintenance is taken care of. That is just the beginning of a shift in terms of you becoming someone who's building wealth for yourself and for your family. So it's not intended to be easy, but I want you to know that what we've tried to do is to make sure that we break it off into pieces where we give you the first step, and once you get the first step, then you take the next step. We're not trying to give you the whole thing because we know people will choke and get overwhelmed if we give you everything. We give you exactly what you need to go along and try to make sure that we can facilitate that. And you've been great, Jackie, in doing that. And we're here to try to, answer those questions and help people along, those that are really interested and are, prepared to take those steps.
Two things that came to mind when you were just communicating. First and foremost, and this is from a spiritual standpoint, too much is given, much is required. That's number one. So it's not going to be an easy process. But number two, how do you eat an elephant? You do it one bite at a time.
Yep.
So to anybody that's listening, he's 100% correct. It's not going to be an easy process. But one of the things you can rest assured, first and foremost, we work well. If I may say so myself, we work very well together.
Yes, we do.
Have a system in place where we're communicating with each other. Not always every day, but there are occasions where it may go 3 days in a row. Yep. So my point I'm trying to make here is, if you get started, we will hold your hand if need be every single step of the way. That's one of my reasons I became an agent. It's to make sure that we have a chance at something, and somebody who, and I don't want to make it a color factor, because it's not. It's not a color factor. But if I can be honest, it is slim to none for us when purchasing home. Now, by God, with all the graces of God, that barrier has really come down, in today's time. But back in the days, you didn't see very many of us being able to purchase homes. No. And one of the things that I learned during that period was we didn't have a lot of agents that looked like us either selling those homes. And so it's been an honor to be able to see it from both sides of the equation.
Let me also say, not only did we not have a lot of agents, many of our families, I'm actually of Cuban descent. My parents were Cuban, and my dad and my mom owned property in Cuba when they moved to the States. My dad was always very much a proponent of buying your own home and not renting. one of the things that I also learned in this journey back in 2009 or 2010, I got a chance to go to New Orleans after Katrina, the lower Ninth Ward. And one of the things that struck me was a lot of the properties that had been devastated by the flooding in the areas in New Orleans was that many of those properties, the owners, first of all, for those that don't know, New Orleans was one of the first places where freed Africans could own property. So that's by virtue of history, really, really important. But the sad part is that many of those properties that had been damaged and ravaged by the hurricane, the owners had never deeded those properties. They had not taken the precautions to deed those properties to their children and grandchildren. So what was happening is that when FEMA wanted to provide monies for reparations, for rebuilding, they could not find the legal owner because many of those, the legal owner had been deceased 5, 10, 15 years before, and their grandchildren had been living there, but they didn't have the title to the property. And so one of the things that happens in communities of color, Black, Hispanic, even Asian in many respects is that the knowledge of owning an asset has never been passed on. And it's really, really important that we talk about that and we talk about it openly and not only talk about it, but make measures to correct it. So it's really, really, again, our mission is to make sure that we can not only educate, but also make sure that people are having the opportunities to own a property and to know what they need to do with it, as Henry mentioned, to make sure that you keep it 5 years down the road and have something that you can pass on to your children.
And that is why I conduct those home buying workshops, teaching about wills. There's land right now with some of my signs on that I've had on the market for years, which is sad to say has no reflection of me not being able to get it sold. It's because the title is not clean, right? Because it's been transferred to siblings, if you will, but back in certain days, aunts and uncles were able to just put their name on something and it wasn't legally conveyed because they didn't know they needed to do so. So Daniel, you're 100% correct. And now the rules here, at least in the state of Florida, everybody has to agree to allow something to be changed over. And if there's, not all signatures on that document, it's not going anywhere. So it is a matter of being in the know. And one of the things that I always say is when you don't know, you just don't know. So right. That's why it's important to me to conduct the workshops. It's important to me to be an agent where I make sure I take someone from the beginning to the end. And again, this is why this is important to me to be a part of this project, because of people like you who make it possible for our community, who has the mindset of wanting to do right by someone, who is dedicated to making sure that this gets done, because I know this is not easy. It is not for the faint-hearted, as we said earlier, and only the strong will survive. And so I thank you. I'm sorry what happened to you, but where that Judas, because that was your Judas, where that Judas thought they were hurting you, they actually gave you a stepping stool, a platform where it elevated you. So thank you for being obedient. Because of you, our city has a chance to have a community for years to come where we are able to say we took part in that. And so that's the humbling aspect of it for me. So I salute you, my brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And thank you for what it is that you're doing for our community.
Well, let's take some questions. I think that maybe some of the folks either on the panel or maybe anybody listening might have some questions while you guys still have me. And I know you've got other guests as well. So
that's okay. I'm going to go in and see, does anybody on the panel have any questions? While you guys ask the necessary questions, I'll go to the live and see if we've got any questions taking place. You can unmute yourselves and ask away. And since you guys don't, I do have a question. And the question reads, when it comes to the homes, are you able to secure your lot without actually building the property first? Daniel, you want to answer that one?
Yes, the process that we have in place, it's what we call a reservation deposit agreement. So you would pick the lot. And this is obviously after demonstrating that you have a pre-approval letter from your mortgage that shows that you qualify for the purchase price of the home. So you would execute the reservation deposit agreement for the lot and the model of your choice. Once we are ready to start construction on that model, then you would have to sign or execute a purchase and sale agreement with your lender. So if the question was alluding to, hey, I just want to secure the lot and hold it and build in the future, our development agreement does not allow that, because the objective of the development agreement is to build all 15 homes. So unfortunately, it's not a property that you can buy the land and sit on it as an investment. That's not the objective of the city and the redevelopment agency.
The other question is, what is the credit score? I'm sorry, I want to make sure I'm looking at another screen and it's a little delay, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't cutting you off. So I apologize if I did.
Okay.
You had
No,
stopped,
you're
am
fine.
I right?
You're fine. Yeah, I did stop.
Okay, the other question, the other question was, what is the credit score to be able to begin the process? What is a needed credit score?
Well, each lender, that's a great question. Each lender has different criteria. So some lenders have a product where they may have a minimum credit score of 600. Some have a minimum credit score of 640. Some have even a mortgage product for first-time homebuyers that has an even lower credit score. It really depends on the lender that you're working with and what product they can fit you in. That's why it's really important to either reach out to one of the lenders that we have identified that we're working with, or you're not obligated to work with one of those lenders. You can work with one of your own lenders. So your bank, who you bank with currently, if you already have a relationship. What I would suggest is that you talk to the loan officer in charge of what's called the CRA credits, because CRAs are Community Reinvestment Act. And so those CRA loan officers have a different set of products that they can, kind of a toolbox that they can avail you of, as opposed to a regular standard or traditional lending package. So it really just depends on the lender, but generally, to the extent that you want to have good credit, that's always important to being able to buy. But again, Jackie, you said it earlier, just because the answer is no doesn't necessarily mean no, it just means not yet. One thing that I will say to everyone listening, if your credit is such that, or your income is such that you're not ready to buy right now, even in this project, don't let that dissuade you from doing what you need to do to repair your credit and increase your credit score and put some money away. Because maybe you're not ready to buy today, but a year from now might be a different story. And our commitment and our vision in terms of our relationship with the city is to do more of these types of projects. So this is just one project, 15 homes, but with God's help and God's favor, we want to obviously build more new construction in Fort Pierce and make this opportunity available.
And to what Daniel is saying, listen, if you're not sure, just pick the phone up. Just pick the phone up, reach out to myself or Daniel, so that we can answer any additional questions or any uncertainty that you may have. My favorite thing I like to say in real estate, there's no dumb question.
Right.
None whatsoever. So please make sure you take the time and get with us. And I'm going to go ahead and take it the liberty of giving the phone number for myself and then Daniel. I won't put the phone number out there unless you do so, but at least an email address so that the community can reach out in referencing to this particular project. So for your real estate questions that you have on or about it, please 772-519-2100. Please give me a call. If you have an agent that you're working with, I work with agents, have them contact me. If you have a lender and you don't know the right questions to ask that lender, have them to contact me, because there are different types of construction loans that are out there, and we don't want them to think that they are doing construction loan from the beginning to the end. And I don't want you to have to worry about remembering all of the proper verbiage. So just turn that phone number over to your lender and have them to give me a call, or you can reach out to me and ask me to contact your lender and or your agent for that matter, or you, if you want to be a little bit more intimate as far as our conversation go, I'll happily do so. And then Daniel, what way would you like for them to contact you?
My email address is my first name, Daniel, at etwdc.org. My phone number is 305-588-2638. You can call or text, email, whichever way you want to communicate. I'm usually pretty good, as Jackie knows. I thought that this session was actually happening last weekend. Yes. And at around 9 o'clock, I had a moment where I thought, oh my gosh, I forgot. And thankfully, it wasn't until this Saturday. So I'm glad that I've been.
I did too. I did too.
Ms. Brom, I'm glad I wasn't the only one. I had a moment of panic, and I thought, oh my goodness, how could I have missed that opportunity? So I'm glad that that we were able to have this this platform and an opportunity to share with everyone in the community.
This has been very humbling. And so we are speaking on the sides of homeownership, which is why Mr. Puente is next on our guest list here to speak. And the reasoning being, I happen to be working on a project, an actual transaction. And by the way, we're closing on that transaction, I believe Tuesday or Wednesday of this coming week. And so, yes, right? And so he took and did the inspection for it. And we were having a conversation in the foyer area. And that conversation consisted of a spray type of insulation that takes place, right? And so he said to me, a lot of families don't realize this because it is a cheaper route to take to be able to insulate the home. But when you utilize this specific type of insulation, people like myself don't, want to come in and fumigate the home because we can't see behind it. So the light bulb went off and say, well, you know what? I never thought about that because I see that little styrofoam spray everywhere. I think I even have some in my garage. So I didn't know. So I wanted him to come on and talk with the community because this is the tip portion. I always have a quick tip portion that I like to give to the community so we can walk away with something that's going to be beneficial to us outside of what we already have talked about. But real quick, Mr. Puente, tell the people who you are and then give us a little insight on what it is that you would like to bring to their attention on what not to do as a homeowner.
Well, again, my name is Walter Puente. Thank you for having me at the platform. I really appreciate it. Well, one of the things that I want homeowners to understand is that you live in Florida and you get all different types of wood-eating organisms that swarm throughout our skies and our grounds. So there's two types of homes in Florida, those that have termites and those that are going to get them. The problem is when you have a home that it has that type of spray foam that is stuck onto the ceiling of your roof, if there's any subterranean termites, if there's dry wood termites, if there's any even rodents, you won't be able to know because they're behind this insulation traveling through it. So an inspector that comes out there and looks at the home, they're going to say everything is great. And then you won't know that there's any issues until you have $10,000, $15,000 worth of damage already, and it's already too late. And the problem is you can't fumigate your home because that foam absorbs the Viking gas, so you won't get a kill of your termites. In fact, any prestigious fumigation company won't fumigate a home with that type of insulation, as well as like the company I work for, Orkin, they will not cover any homes for that type of insulation. They will just walk away from it. And the concept is that it's cheaper, yeah, but if you were to look for another option, if, for example, there's insulation that has boric acid in it that kills up to 121 insects that try to penetrate your home, as a crack as thin as a business card. So the whole concept of this is to be proactive and know that you want to protect your investment properly, but you don't want to make those mistakes of adding something that is going to, help you in some things, but really affect you in the long run. And those are the type of things that you want to make sure that you concentrate on and avoiding having conducive conditions around your home, any shrubs that are connected to your home that is allowing any insects to get in, stuff like that. Because preventative treatments are cheaper, but termite controls and fumigations are very, very expensive. And the only way that you can reduce those type of things is, having a termite inspection every year. by a professional. For example, we don't charge for our termite inspections. So if you ever need a termite inspection, we're going to come out there and, give you the best that we have. We're going to crawl through your attics and we're going to tell you, hey, you have any activity? This is a treatment that you should do. Or, hey, you don't have any activity, you should do something preventative. But, the whole concept is stay away from that phone. That's what I would say. It's not beneficial. It might reduce your, electricity and everything. But if you get German roaches or any type of insects, that's going to be their nest, the next nest for them to be able to thrive.
I appreciate that. And then one thing that I wanted you to confirm, if you will, because a lot of people don't know this, and being in real estate, I hear it quite a bit. And that is, just because you reside in a CBS, which is concrete block stucco, or even if it's just a concrete block, does not mean that you cannot get termites. In fact, the home is built off of wood. There are wood trusses. The roof has wood in it. And one of the attracting magnets, if you will, for a better lack of choice of words, is if that roof has had any kind of leaking, it's going to have moisture. Moisture is going to turn into mold. Mold provides a sense of a smell. And there's your attraction right there to those termites. And as he stated, it could be a size of a business card. And we know those are kind of thin. And if that light sheds in or spills out, if you will, it's going to attract them in. And one of the things that I learned, and you can tell me if this is correct, it usually takes anywhere between 2 to 3 years for you to even know you've got the termites, because they're in there doing the work that the good Lord designed them to do. So real quick on that.
People have to understand, you have a truss, right? And throughout that truss, the termites are making tunnels. And as they're traveling through your home, and anyone does an inspection of your home, and we're looking at the attic, like if you look at the picture behind me, imagine I'm crawling through all this attic right here, and there's no way that I can see through those trusses if there's any termites, unless I'm cutting the piece of truss, right? And the only way you're going to know that you have termites is when it's exposed. You have the droppings all over the place, etc. But when you're looking at a home like this, we only see 20% of the home. We don't know what's going on in the walls. We don't know what's going on in different areas. So basically, subterranean termites, for example, the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty is made out of copper, right? But inside she has trusses of pieces of wood. So that way the construction they were doing inside, it was full of subterranean termites. So if the termites are able to get under the skirt of a copper statue, they can definitely get on the concrete. They can get on block. They can travel long distance until they find the wood that they want to get. These insects are not dumb. They're well organized, and all they need to do is a worker release a pheromone, and it tells them, hey, this is where the wood is, and they're gonna go right there. It doesn't matter how high it is, it doesn't matter how low. They all fly. They all go underground and extend their mud tubes through the trees of the through the roots of the trees until they find a home. So the whole concept is that people need to understand that there's a lot of constructions going on right now in Fort Pierce. Not only in Fort Pierce, from Stewart all the way to Sebastian, there's a lot of developments, a lot of different constructions. So a lot of colonies are being disturbed. So the best thing that you can do is just make sure that you get yourself a termite inspection and stay away from those type of insulation treatments that are gonna hide that type of activity. You want to be aware of what's going on in your home, so that way, you don't get hurt with a $10,000 bill. Because when you go to your insurance company and you tell them that you have termite damage, the first thing that they're going to tell you is that's maintenance. We don't cover that.
Right.
So, those are the things that new homeowners need to know. You want to do something preventative for drywood termites and subterranean termites, because those are the most common termites that we have in South Florida, and especially in those areas.
I appreciate that. And I'm going to put you on the spot. Sorry, but not sorry. You're going to give them a discount if they mention seeing you on this broadcast, right?
100%. Yes.
Okay, very good. I thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you, all mine. Now, that being said, this was as they say, they saved the best for last. And so the best for last is the Dr. Bonnie Hill. I want to do better because I know you're going to see. You're going to see what I'm doing. And so, and you're unmute yourself because you're getting ready to come on. And so because of me knowing that you're going to see me, I make it my business to speak properly, to do right, even though I do right by people as it is, but even more so, I'll put a post out and I say, wait a minute, Dr. Hill, go see that post, go back. I go back and I edit it like 5 times to make sure it's done right. So that said, I am ecstatic about being able to introduce you. For those of you that don't know, I put little clips out periodically leading up to tonight. This is Amplifying the Community's Voice podcast, new co-host. Yeah! So I am so happy
Thank
to have you on board. But I want you to tell the world a little bit about yourself, which they already know. If they grew here, they know who you are. Maybe for those that flew here may not know everything. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm homegrown here in the city of Fort Pierce. My father for a long time was the oldest pastor in Fort Pierce. And we come here being that my father was appointed to pastor from Daytona. So he came in Fort Pierce and he was sent here to help build the church up. So as PK kids, you know, we've learned a lot of things. We've been exposed to a lot of things, and we've helped my father in ministry. My brothers are pastors now in the city. I'm an evangelist, and we've just done the work of ministry with our parents here. My mom has been a pastor's wife for 65 years before my father demise, and we've all been able to I've sub-teach, I've worked in the community with different opportunities to expand who I was other than a PK kid, and my children as well is a part of the community. I have a son that is pastoring, that the whole St. Louis school board should know him, but God blessed him to now be pastoring. I'm just thrilled about the Lord have helped me to get my kids in the place that they can grow and be who God have called them to be. Because sometimes our kids become what we want them to be.
That's right.
I never gave my kids that kind of pressure, because whatever God's plan was for their lives was okay with me. But I'm so happy, Miss Jackie, to be a part of all of this. I was married 46 years. My husband just recently died a few years back. And I've done things. I've reached places. I've traveled throughout. But it's like since the death of my husband, I'm learning things about me. I'm allowing myself to experience other things and other spaces of people that I didn't have that opportunity, first focusing on being a wife. So now I'm in this place where I'm enjoying being me. And I don't know how much of me I'll find out in the days to come, but I like where I am, and I like being Jack, they said something in the meeting I was today, and I'm not a single woman. I'm a widow.
That's right.
So I'm not ready to embrace the single woman aspect. I'd rather just be the widow until God give me the strength to move from this place. But I want to enjoy this place, and I want to keep finding out more and more about the woman that I am.
That's right.
And reaching places that I kind of held back on, but now I'm feeling like girl, you know, it's okay. I'm looking at this principal.
You see how it's set up, right?
Yeah, she's probably my oldest granddaughter is 32. My oldest son is 51. So I'm looking at these young people and I'm feeling empowered just to be connected to you all. So, you know, and you all are bringing out the best in me. I'm excited.
Oh, I can't wait. You know, one of the things that we put in place, Dr. Hill and I, and that was we're going to bless each podcast before we get started, because without God, there is no us. We are in an agreement as to who we bring aboard, because if there's no approval for the both of us, then it makes one of us uncomfortable. And that's not what our segments will be about. And we are going to feed off of one another's energy. Because there's no, as you guys know, there is no list of questions that I sent to you. I fed off your energy. I opened it up to you, and then whatever it is that you guys presented to us with, that's what stimulated the questions. And so I'm just excited, because when we had the conversation, and believe it or not, if you did know this, it was actually 9 months ago, long enough to birth the whole baby. So this is the baby that we physically just rebirthed together.
And so you know, Miss Jackie.
Yes, my love.
I was when I met her, she was preparing for a podcast over at the Ink. And just do a quick conversation. Again, me expecting something greater to expand from me. I'll be 66 years old in 2 weeks, and I feel good. I mean, a lot of things I've had to challenge this.
You look good, by the way. So sorry.
Oh, thank you. But all of it have made me better. I've had to face some of my little girl stuff as well as my maturity, because you know, it's been challenging. Because I tell you, I lived with this man since I was 19.
Right.
So he's all I knew, and things are changing, but they're changing for the better. And I'm looking at you ladies, and I'm excited because I'm gleaming, and there's something in your life that you're going to bring to mine.
Exactly, and vice versa.
Yeah, and I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm excited for the road that we're about to travel together. I look forward to, our podcast. I look forward to whatever endeavors that you and I are working on, because we've got a few things down on paper that we've met at my favorite coffee spot and have discussed. So now it's time for us to put those into motion so we can bring them to light. I look for your guidance, your leadership. I look for your support, especially on this Oaks of Moores Creek project. I only have a few months to get this thing done. And
it's gonna get done.
Thank you. And I don't want Daniel to be able to not redo my agreement.
Get done. I was I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna be finished. I was sharing with my sister today, with what I do with the Inner Healing for Women ministry, which I've done for almost 40 years. A couple of years back, I did a workshop where I had a mother, a daughter, and a granddaughter, 3 generations that had, each generation of these ladies had been wounded from each other. And I was sharing with my sister on last evening how the grandmother admitted her wrong to her daughter. And her daughter, not wanting her daughter to fight the demons of the women that were the foundations of her life, and to see God heal them and bring them to a place of reckoning. And that's so important for families to reconnect and become in that oneness. Because sometimes people will come together, but they're not together. But the real healing comes with the real honesty, the real pain, which is my son always say, Mom, we have to have hard conversations.
That's right.
Sometimes you don't want to, but you have to have hard conversations to get people healed. But to see her daughter, her granddaughter, become one of the finest school teachers there in Carolina and reaching out to these young people because she didn't want them to experience some things and to see their growth. I just, when I see her reaching out, it's exciting because everybody won't get healed because everybody won't tell the truth.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm glad you said that. You spoke on something just now that confirmed for me what I, have brewing up. And the hard conversations, speaking of which I've had to have with my children. I gave birth to my first kid at 17 years old. So I know I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. I kind of mimic what I thought was right. And I come from the generation where it was an extension. It was a fan belt. They didn't get that, but they got puppets. Okay. Yeah. And so, but I was a parent that showed up at the school. I can remember one day my youngest school called me and said, he was in the office, which he didn't give me too much trouble. But I can remember my youngest school called me and said, he's in trouble. And I said, well, what about? Because he didn't give me too much trouble. And she said, well, somebody spilled chocolate milk on his jacket. Well, it was a name brand jacket. I got in went to excuse myself, and I went to the office and I said, I'm back. I got to go to my son's school. So they said, you can't go. I said, well, you're going to have to write me up when I come back, but I'm going to my son's school. So when I got there, he got in trouble. But what he didn't understand was why he was getting in trouble. I didn't care anything about the chocolate milk that was spilled on your jacket. What I cared about is you were disrespectful to the people at the
exactly.
School.
Yes.
Whatever battle you have to fight, you bring that to me and you let me fight your battle. You stay in a child's place. That's kind of how I always have tried to raise him. Now he's grown, 25, and we was fighting about this podcast. I wanted to go my way and he wanted to go his way. Now he's in a whole nother city. But and he had to say to me, Mama, just let me do what I went to school for. And I had to step back and give him the floor and let him do that. But I will say what you just spoke about that I am brewing up, and that is it's called Sunday Vibes. Yeah. And Sunday Vibes is something that my son spoke to me about, me being able to do so because he believes that will resonate with other women. And it goes along the lines with, which is what you said about healing, because I myself am single. And when that singleness comes in, it wasn't because of a death, but it's a divorce. And so to that, I am learning things about myself. I've been with somebody since I was 17 years old because I became a mom. And so like you, I'm now finding myself. I'm not ashamed of anything that transpired, and I'm able to heal from it because I can have hard conversations about it. Not many people can do so. So I look forward to doing my Sunday Vibes, where I'll be doing them twice a month. And I'm excited to release the, a little snippet of the segment that will take place. And then we are past our session. And so we are going to take and wrap it up. But, I enjoyed it with you so much. And I cannot wait until our next podcast in November takes place. So Dr. Hill, this has been amazing. The rest of our guests did let me know that they were going to have to head out. So they didn't get a chance to physically say it, but they did let me know to say thank you. They enjoyed being here and they wanted to make sure that the world knew that they appreciated them for listening. So I'm going to let you close us out. And give us one takeaway and one leave behind for tonight's podcast.
Take away the courage, take away the strength, and take away not being afraid to ask for help. Take away the fact that we don't know everything, but God has people in place to push us beyond where we sometimes get stuck.
There's that word, stuck.
Yeah, yes. And leave behind past experiences that maybe have caused you to be disappointed, or maybe feel that you cannot conquer. Like Mr. Daniel was saying, maybe this is not the time. It doesn't mean that the time will not present itself. Maybe this is not the season, but don't let what life issues sometimes be the reason why you don't try again.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you guys for joining in with us tonight. I thank you for opening your homes up to us, or your cell phones data up to us. But you gave us a platform within your personal space where you were able to hear us. You gave us the ability to take and change things. And so what we're now going to do is we're going to take and air our closing video. We're going to say, God bless you. Thank you. And until next month, Amplifying the Community's Voice said good night.
Good night. Blessings.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Closing video is planned. Dr. Hill, I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yes.
I appreciate you so much. And I can't wait until we continue to grow as a team. I'm looking forward, and
yes,
whatever people that you think we, if you've got a list of people that you think we should bring on, you just let me know so that we can get them going and schedule the interviews. And let's take this podcast to the next level, Dr. Hill.
Yes, ma'am. I'm all in.
I appreciate you. Love you.
Love you too, sweetheart.
Okay. Talk to you later. Good night.
All right.